Troy, what's the week been like? And obviously Boris has to sit out, and a couple other guys with longer term issues. But what's the health of the team right now?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, obviously we go into this week without Boris from the red card and being suspended. And then we also picked up a couple of injuries during the week of training. Unfortunately, David Schnegg is someone that had a calf injury, and that one's one that is going to be, relatively significant, especially with the limited amount of time left in the season. That's disappointing, clearly, because he's someone that I think we were all excited about, and he fulfilled that excitement and just scored a great goal for us and did very well in Leagues Cup. So this is one that we're disappointed about. And then we also have Jacob Murrow and Gabby Pirani that are a little bit more day-to-day. And again, hopefully they can join us for the weekend, and would be disappointed just as well if they were to miss the match. But we're very optimistic about them coming back in the next week if they do miss this weekend. Jackson Hopkins is making progress, as is Russell Knaus, and that's the update right now on the injury front.
For David, a few weeks.
Yeah, I would guess a few weeks for David, if not maybe a couple more.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did Christian Fletcher go to England?
Yeah, until that is finalized and there's discussions around that from both sides, I won't address that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bigger picture, Christian signed a new contract.
Yes.
You got him locked up. You got Lucas done, a month or two ago. Obviously, you have what's in front of you, and that's pushing for the playoffs this year. But you also are looking at the broader build.
Yeah.
I imagine. How do you see this progressing? And I guess what should fans expect as we get closer to off-season, whenever that may start?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll give you a little bit of an answer to the question that you're asking, which is when you can sign a foundational piece like Christian Benteke, who's currently tied for being the Golden Boot winner in MLS right now, and hopefully he can continue to do that because that's going to give us a chance to do what we want to do in 2024. You're setting yourself up well, not only for the current season, but for seasons to come. And I think it sends a very clear signal that we're trying to build off of some of the things that are absolutely right in our organization. And we do have those things, but we have to get more of those things right in the future. And so that work has been throughout this entire season to plan for the future, as well as to try to make an impact right now. And that's where I would end, is just saying there's still more to do to make an impact right here and now. And having Christian be able to extend is going to give him a boost for the rest of the season, because he knows he's not only going to have a great end to the 2024 season, but he's got another season with the club and hopefully a couple more to come.
Is it fair to say that now that Steve's retired, that Christian is your permanent captain?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's our leader, and he was the vice captain with Steve being the main captain for the team. But Christian has assumed that role throughout any time Steve has been out, and that's why we have those vice captains in place. But he's our leader, and again, not only is he the leading goal scorer, but I think I've said time and again, this is a guy that always is able to impact us in the locker room as well.
And now we'll take some from Zoom, Matt.
We'll go to Byron Kerr.
Hey, Coach. Can you talk about Dominique Badji and what he can bring to the table? Obviously, you don't have Enow in this match, but what have you seen in the first few weeks from Badji as you get ready?
Yeah, he's someone that when I look at his first match and probably the 60 minutes that he played versus Atlanta United, that's the type of impact that we hope that Badji can make every single week. He was really, really dangerous in terms of his production with Christian Benteke. He helped create the first goal. Really good in pressing moments. A lot of experience in terms of how to win games. And then, unfortunately, he sustained a little bit of an injury, and he was only able to play limited minutes versus Mazatlan. And then his minutes were limited this past week because we're down a man, and we had to make some changes and adjustments at halftime. So the more that we're able to get him on the field, the better. He's always someone that's going to be able to play a couple different roles for the team. And again, he has experience in this league, being someone that and times where there's pressure, which there is right now, to be able to make something of 2024. This is a guy that has met that pressure every single time with the right mentality and had success.
And you mentioned how important Benteke is to DC United. How important is it for him in his enthusiasm for your team, for your club on socials, and making DC kind of a destination for other players in MLS and around the world to say, hey, this is a good place to play. I love it here, and I want to be a leader here?
I don't know about socials. I mean, you're asking the wrong guy about socials, Byron.
Well, he
but
was pretty excited.
Yeah.
He was pretty excited about on X about re-signing with the club. So I thought,
yeah,
that's a good time for other people who are kind of monitoring DC United.
Sure. I understand your question. What I think is important about the question and what my answer is in relationship to that is that the level of excitement is felt here every day, and I feel that in person. And then as a result, we get to see him go and score goals, which is what he's paid to do. And then you can also tell that he wants to be part of this community. He wants his family to be part of this community. He wants to see DC United reach the potential that it used to reach. And that's what our goal has been the whole time, is to restore our reputation. And we're in the process of that, but we have a long way to go. When you have a guy like that, though, sign on and say, I see where this is going, it does send a really clear message about what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
We'll go to Bruce Murray. Bruce, you're muted.
Hi, Troy. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a little while, Bruce.
Yeah, it sure has. It sure has. Exciting game, obviously, the other night. How much, now that we've had 7 or 8 games where we're always playing with 10 men, how much does the coaching staff put the psychological, like, hey, whatever, like when I went across and just took the guy down, do you say, part of it is you put the arm around the players and tell them, and the other part at some point, when do the players have to understand the importance of having 11 players on the field? Because, I mean, in the second half, it wasn't, 10 versus 11 didn't mean anything at that point, the way we were playing. But, it did cause the problem to start anyway. How do you deal with those situations?
It's not an easy one to deal with because, it's every situation is different. And we've had what hasn't been different is that it's happened too many times. I think we can all agree with that. Every scenario has been different. For Boris, what I told him is in that scenario, you have to realize you're on a yellow, right? And some of the other ones this year, they've come from other dynamics that are at play. And so every single player that's been in that situation for us this year has learned from it. It has been addressed. We've addressed it with the group. We do play with an aggressiveness. That's a reality. But we have to be disciplined as well. We have to be very disciplined as well. And 7 times is too many. We can't expect to be able to dig ourselves out of situations like that. If it happens once or twice, okay. But this is too many times. And it's something that we've addressed as a group. And hopefully that will be the last time that we have that in this final 8 matches.
That's great. And then the second question, real quick follow-up, is it's so jumbled at the bottom right now. I mean, there's 4 or 5 teams on 26. 2 wins in a row, man. You're right up there. I mean, do the players, do they talk about it a lot, or do you guys emphasize that in the locker room? How does that go psychologically? Because obviously we both know a lot of psychology goes into this game.
Yeah, I mean, we're all well aware of the table, and we try to bring that into the view of the players, but also, 8 matches, there's a lot of points. There's a lot to be played left. And so sometimes when you hyper-focus, like I know the group really felt let down after the Dallas match, but then you look at this week, and we have another opportunity that's right in front of us. And so we have to still stick to what we try to do as a group. And that's really more of what I want the mindset to be versus thinking too far into the future about what 2 matches does or 3 matches does. We have Toronto this week. They're in 8th place, and they're a few points ahead of us. So if we can close that gap, that's our focus right now.
Great. Good luck, Troy.
Thank you.
We'll go to Dennis Gomez.
Hey Troy, thank you for your time. I just wanted to ask, what is your evaluation of Toronto FC after the last game that they played against Houston, where they won as an away game? And what is the game plan to stop talented players like Bernardeschi and Insigne?
Yeah, so for them and their result against Toronto, I think it's in line with how they've gotten results this year. They're very organized defensively. I think they're very committed defensively. And then to the point you mentioned, I think that they have some exciting players individually that can absolutely win the game. They're a collective unit, though. You can see that they work very, very hard together to get the results, and they have some talented players. Bernardeschi, as I understand it, and Osorio will be out this weekend with yellow card accumulation. But they still have some other weapons there. Derek Etienne hurt us at home and had a great goal. He scored a lot of goals in the league. As you mentioned Insigne, he's also one of the more talented players in the league, and he can create goals for himself and his teammates. So they have some other weapons there that Richie Laryea that comes to mind also. That are going to be dangerous, that we have to try to be as organized as possible and smart about the way that we play. The other thing about even being down a man, we're giving up too many goals. We've given up too many goals the entire season. A lot of times these goals come from moments that we can control. It's not what the opponent is doing to us. And this is what a lot of the focus was post-match, is just addressing these things and taking accountability, starting with myself first.
And just as a follow-up on a personal note, we've heard a couple other coaches talk about your work ethic and how energetic you are with your teams. What impact do you hope to have on the players that you coach beyond the field?
Yeah, always. When I reflect on myself, I always am looking at it from the lens of, my job is to give every single day. I'm trying to give to every single player. I'm trying to give to this organization, be a servant for DC United, bring the club into a better place than it has been. And I think that if I'm in that mindset always, it's definitely not about me. It's about these players, and the more ownership that the players have over this, and I think that's what the ultimate goal is, and I can see that they're taking more ownership, and that's going to help us down the stretch this season and beyond.
Thank you.
We'll take one final question from Brendan Hartlove.
Thanks. Hi, Troy. I'm filling in for Dave this week, and so I'll be with Bruce. Appreciate your time. I'm curious about Matai's development. Obviously, he got his first assist last Saturday, but what have you maybe seen as the biggest change in his game from the start of the season to where he is right now?
Yeah, I mean, number one, this goes back to a player taking responsibility. Matai is 17 years old, and the maturity that he displays and taking real ownership of his career this season is probably the area that he's developed the most. I can just see him and how he's so smart, the way he analyzes the game through video and, individually and as a team is really impressive. He really doesn't miss much, and then that translates to some really good actions on the field. And what I would say is he's been thrust into a position that's not easy for a young player that is very talented. He only has 30 matches under his belt, at all levels. That's in 2.5 years as a pro, that's not very many. We need to keep building the infrastructure to take care of a young player like that so that he gets more matches, so that when his number is called on in important first-team matches, he's completely ready. And credit to Matai, I think he's more times than not stepped up and played an important role for us. And so I think the future's bright for him. And again, he's a pleasure to work with. There's that has to be said.